Hey, what's going on everyone? MONADO Max here, and today is not a so exciting video as I wanted to do a video talking about what's going on with gaming right now. Gaming is in a very scary place because of the decisions that gaming is really doing. And if you have not heard the news, pretty much every company out there has had to lay off their employees. And a lot of these companies that you would not expect to be laid off. As of today, every week it's something new. So whenever this video comes out, there's probably going to be even more companies that got laid off in terms of their employees. But I think the one very interesting one, very shocking one, considering how successful they've been towards PlayStation and Sony, is Insomniac Games. Insomniac Games had to let go of a lot of employees this morning, and it doesn't make sense considering Spider-Man 2 and the last Spider-Man games have all been PlayStation's most successful titles on their consoles. And what I want to talk to you guys about why this is actually happening, because I'm pretty sure I know what's going on, and it needs to be addressed fast because this is going to ruin gaming. And we're going to show why Nintendo's plan is working and why they have, a lot of people are going to call me a fanboy for this, but Nintendo has the smartest strategy when it comes to budgeting, employees, games, all that type of stuff. We're really going to go in depth with this. So buckle up. It's going to be a video. It's going to be either happy or depressing. I mean, it's depressing to see employees lose their jobs, and hopefully these employees can work with other companies or somehow get just open the doors towards a better job or something. Hopefully everything works out for these employees that lost their job. So this has affected pretty much every company out there. PlayStation has let go of a lot of Naughty Dog employees. They just shut down the London studios. A lot of PlayStation studios have been affected by this. We just saw them cancel games too. Like there was this Twisted Metal game that was coming out that just got canceled. EA just announced that they laid off 800, or it might have been like 620, something like that. Some weird amount of employees, which that is a lot of employees to let go. Every company is doing this. Another company that I want to talk about that this definitely shouldn't be happening to, we talked about Insomniac Games. That does not make sense. Supermassive Games, they're the Until Dawn creators. They are just announced the remake of the game. They just announced the movie for Until Dawn. All of their games have been very successful, and yet they still suffered. A lot of employees had to get laid off. Shouldn't be happening, but what it comes down to is the ridiculous video game budgets that we are now going towards with these next-gen consoles. We're going to use Spider-Man 2 as an example. Now, Spider-Man 2's video game budget was $315 million. What? That's higher than a movie. I'm not even joking. That's more than a typical movie. Decisions like this that is hurting the company, because Spider-Man 2 is the fastest selling PlayStation 5 game of all time. I think it's already the best selling PlayStation 5 exclusive out there. So how are we seeing Insomniac Games, which is a company that's kind of been looked like as the face of PlayStation 5 right now, because all of their games is taking the hardware to its absolute limits, and everything except I think Ratchet & Clank didn't sell as well, but all the other stuff that Insomniac Games has made has sold really well and breaking records. Even with these breaking records, they're still having to let go of employees. It's because of these ridiculous video game budgets that are happening right now, that we're seeing happen with every company possible right now. We're seeing this with Xbox, which Xbox is they don't have as high of video game budgets, but the reason why Xbox is letting go of so many employees is because they're buying so many companies that already had existing employees. Xbox, to them, they look at it as like, we don't need these many employees, let go of this, that, and that. As we see companies continue to be bought out by Xbox, we're going to see this not be a good thing. With these high video game budgets from PlayStation, from companies like Xbox buying so many companies, those two decisions is what's really leading us to a downfall for video games. And this is going to affect us a lot in a few years by now when it comes to those companies. When we're talking about the Nintendo Switch here though, Nintendo has been very smart with what they are doing with their systems. I want people to look at their library of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series games and see how many exclusives actually first-party games have come out for the system. Decent amount, but how long has it taken to get said exclusives? How many times did you have to wait after buying an exclusive? How long was the gap towards the next good exclusive that you were really looking forward to into playing? A long time, probably, because that's really what this whole generation has been with PlayStation and Xbox. As video games budgets increase, the times that we're waiting for games are longer. These the meme right now is quadruple game because of Ubisoft with Skull and Bones. As we see this is going to be a thing that continues to happen from here on out as video games get higher budgets and I guess really the software out there becomes stronger and more powerful systems out there. We're going to see games take forever to make. Nintendo, however, they don't do ridiculous video game budgets. We got Mario vs. Donkey Kong here as an example. We don't know how much a Nintendo budget game is out there. The only reason why we know how much Spider-Man 2 was is the Insomniac Games leak happened and video game budgets were out there that got leaked. And the reason why we brought Mario vs. Donkey Kong, that definitely wasn't a game that cost them that much. It was a widely successful game for most people. They really liked it. They thought it was a really good game. To those that bought it, they were really happy with it. I bring this up because the Nintendo Switch has not had the problem that these next-gen consoles have had, which is getting exclusives, getting first-party games constantly coming out. Because Nintendo, throughout the years of the Switch, has pretty much released one first-party game for the system every month almost. There might be times that they skipped a month or maybe they skipped 2 months in a row, but the Nintendo Switch always has so many first-party games coming out for the system, and it's because they don't have the ridiculous video game budgets, and it doesn't require the massive, powerful systems that are out there right now. My point is we all should really be following the Nintendo pattern here, where I guess what you would call AAA games could be called AA games, where they're not as expensive to make. Because Nintendo has made so many amazing games out there that people love that are not these high-dollar, AAA, hundreds of millions of dollars budget games, and they've gotten so much praise for it. The longest time that Nintendo fans really have to wait for a game is really the Zelda games, and still the wait for those are nowhere near as how the next-gen gaming has been. Games are going to continue to be longer and longer development cycles that are going to really cost everyone on the table in terms of employees, consumers getting annoyed by it. It's going to, I'm afraid, start a video game downfall, which shouldn't be happening since last year was video games' most successful year in a very long time, which video gaming is successful in every year pretty much. But with these poor decisions that we're seeing happen with gaming's not going to be profitable. The gaming scene is not going to be noticed because the gaming scene is not getting as many games as they used to because it's taking... You see what I'm getting at with this? We have to follow the Nintendo pattern. PlayStation actually used to follow that Nintendo pattern. If you look at their PlayStation 2 library, now I know bad system to compare to since that wasn't as powerful of a system, but their video game budgets were significantly lower on there, and what they would consider AA games was their most successful games. Some of the games that people are talking about to this day, which is Jak and Daxter as an example. I don't see anything wrong with going with what Nintendo does. Not everything needs to be powerful. If you look at the first-party Nintendo games, they always look really nice. A lot of people talked about Mario RPG looking like one of the most beautiful Nintendo Switch games out there. I think we gotta follow that. I mean that was probably nowhere near as a budget compared to some of the stuff that PlayStation and Xbox is budgeting for their games. One thing that is ridiculous, that while we're talking about video game budgets, Spider-Man Remastered, yes, a remastered game that has only been out since, well, at the time, it had only been out for 2 years. 2 years, keep that in mind, was $40 million to remaster that game on PlayStation 5. What is PlayStation doing with this money? This is ridiculous. That should not cost $40 million for a game that's only been out for 2 years. That was on PlayStation 4. We got to go back to what Nintendo did. We need to analyze what Nintendo is doing because Nintendo's able to put out stuff every single month, constantly getting stuff out for their systems. The support for the Switch is absolutely crazy if you compare it to the PlayStation 5 and Series X in terms of first-party games. I'm talking about it from first-party games. Now, I'm sure third-party developers also struggle with this, but they probably don't do as high budgets that, you know, like these PlayStation exclusives get. We just gotta chill out on the video game budgets, because this is what's killing these companies, and people are going to lose people that they actually need to make a good game. A game that is going to be talked about for years and years, decades and decades. Gaming is about to be in a bad spot in a few years. Pretty sure Nintendo is the only company that hasn't announced at this time layoffs. And that's because they're not doing ridiculous budget games. And they're still selling these games like crazy. Every Nintendo game sells like really good compared to the PlayStation 5 first party games. And I'm sure PlayStation and Xbox would like those type of numbers. I think PlayStation's kind of got themselves in a corner that they might not be able to get out of when it comes to these budgets. And Xbox has definitely got themselves in a corner with how they're buying so many companies, because when you buy more companies, it just doesn't make sense to keep all those employees, because you can move people around. It is a mess what's happening, and it is concerning, very concerning. I mean, this generation, if you look at what the PlayStation 5 has from a first party perspective compared to what the PlayStation 4 PlayStation 4 had so many more games come out 4 years into the system compared to PlayStation 5, and it's because these high dollar systems having this much power causes games to take longer. It's a cycle that's going to get worse, and I don't know what's going to happen. I truly don't know. I don't see them wanting to go back on the budget, but they need to. They need to figure out something. Spider-Man 2 should have not been a $315 million game either. I love Spider-Man 2. Love that game. It's it's probably the favorite game of all time. But I'm so confused why that's such an expensive game, especially if you look at something like Alan Wake 2 and how groundbreaking that game does with the hardware. That game, Alan Wake 2, I think was like a $70 million game in terms of its budget. I don't know. I don't know. What it comes down to is companies buying companies is affecting people in a bad way, and these ridiculous budgets. And I mean, obviously video game sales can take to it. Some of these games aren't successful. I've noticed some of these companies that are laying off their employees is probably, when we look at the third party side, is because of games just aren't selling as well. I don't know, but that's why, in my opinion, the Nintendo Switch is winning, because of their strategy that Nintendo has of constantly making games, because they are constantly able to make games because they're not taking as long, ridiculous, and they don't have to lay off employees. That's gotta be the way we gotta see people go with. And I know people are gonna be probably like, oh, but the Nintendo games, they run 2 frames per second. Most of the first party stuff looks and runs really good. So I don't know, I think you can make stuff look really good with a low budget. Alan Wake 2 proves that, because I think the budget was even lower than 70 million. Let me know what you guys are thinking. What do you think's happening with gaming as we go into the next generation of consoles, which would be like 4 to 5 years from now? I think we're gonna be in an even worse spot. That's my opinion. I want to know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. Make sure to backslash that subscribe button, like the video, check out my Twitter, check out my Discord server. Y'all are loving the Discord server recently, so it's great to see y'all in there. Check out the Instagram, I think I already said that. And MONADO Marine membership, $5 a month. You can use the link below, and or there's like a little join button. $5 a month. It's worth it. Every Marine will tell you that it's worth $5. So I'll see you guys in the next video. By the way, fun fact, this might be sad that I know this, or you guys might be like, oh, that's actually pretty cool that he knows this. This scene in The Walking Dead, this exact image right here, happens in Season 6, Episode 10. Did you guys know that? If you watched The Walking Dead, did you know that? I would tell you what happens to have this actually happen in the episode, but I think that might be a little bit too much spoilers right there. But it's either going to be like in the comments, wow, it's really cool that you know that, Max, or wow, that's pathetic.